All right, autopilot. We're in the autopilot menu now looking at full self-driving supervised profile.
Yes.
All right, so chill says drives in slower lanes with minimal lane changes, but a big thing about chill that they're not mentioning for some reason is it keeps you in the right lane more. So if there are 3 lanes, it'll be in the right. If there are 2 lanes, it'll be in the right. It just tends to go to the right lane. Um, and with minimal lane changes, you end up, of course, sometimes being behind someone going slower than you'd like for sometimes quite some time before it finally decides to do anything about it. So if that's okay, then that's how to do it. I do use chill some of the time. Maybe, well, there's a point I was actually using it mostly, and then lately I'm using more standard. Let's look at standard. Okay, standard drives at normal speed, adjust with traffic. Well, chill mostly will follow whatever speed you have set up. So if you say go the speed limit, it mostly will do that. Standard most drives at normal speed. I guess it's going to do that a bit more, but I don't think there's much difference there. Okay, adjust with traffic. I guess, in a sense, you could say that it does normal speed and adjust with traffic in that chill will stay behind someone going a lot slower if they're going slowly without changing lanes easily. Standard, if it notices it's not going the speed that you have set to, like the speed limit, and you're behind someone, it'll want to change lanes pretty quickly. So, in a sense, yeah, so they're right, but technically, but it's a bit confusing how they word it. So I like standard too. Okay, hurry drives faster with more frequent lane changes. Um, I suppose the point there is it will switch lanes much more readily in order to maintain the speed it's set to. But I want to point out something. If you go back to standard, you might notice something about the lanes. So I was saying chill is on the right lane. Standard will pick the right lane out of 2 typically if it can maintain the speed it's set to. But standard also, if there are 3 lanes, I'm pretty sure it will actually stick to the middle lane. Okay? So standard likes the middle lane amongst 3 lanes. Hurry, back there again. Hurry is going to take the left lane a lot. So it really likes the left lane. That's its default sort of preference. I'm not saying it won't go to the right lane as appropriate at times, but it's going to be in the left lane more often than the others. In Connecticut, there's a law that was just passed this year that even in 3 lanes, you can't stay in the left lane if you're not passing. So hurry isn't as good for me now as it used to be because of that new law. Now, I didn't use hurry too much before, but I'm even less likely to use it now. So yeah, that's that. What do you think? Any thoughts or questions about those?
I did it on standard for the 2 times I've used it, and it seemed all right. But that was just on regular roads. I haven't been on highways yet.
Okay. I think, so I'm not positive, but I think that the statistics or information out there shows full self-driving, not only is it good on standard roads, but it's probably even better on highways in general. Probably safer than most humans on highways. Tesla would say it's safer than humans in general. I think safer on highways, I could see that. Potentially, yeah. That could make sense. On regular roads, I'd say a little worse than a human. It does do a few odd things. Um, like sometimes if there's a lane, like a left turn only lane, which you'll find more on a regular road, sometimes it'll go straight anyway. Now, it's not just going straight without paying attention to anything. It still is aware of where cars are. So I don't think it's going to crash into anything in the process. And sometimes humans do that too. They'll be in a left turn only lane, realize they need to go straight, and they'll go straight. So it's acting maybe a bit too human at times. On the highways, it's just there's not much for it to figure out. It knows how to keep proper spacing from other vehicles. Especially on standard, it's going to do pretty well to stay in the correct lanes, switch as needed. I think it pays attention to if there's someone behind you. Let's say you're in a left lane, someone's behind you on a highway, for it to switch to the right lane more readily because it's aware that they're behind you and they may want to, have you move over so they can pass. So that's pretty neat. Um, Yeah, so that's the gist of that. Any other questions about that or thoughts? I mean,
No,
okay.
not for
Next,
that.
all right. Next is max speed offset. You see that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So what that is if someone says, "No, I like to go faster than the speed limit," which is very normal. It's illegal, not as safe, but nevertheless, it's normal. So if somebody decides they really want to increase their speed beyond that and have the full self-driving do it, they can set the max speed limit. I mean, max speed offset. So you might go to like whatever. Okay, here it says 40% recommended, and I can go up to, let's see, 50%. Now here's a few strange things about it. I've gone 10% up, and rather than going, let's see, if you're in a 55 mile per hour, well, let's call it 60. Okay, you're a 60 mile per hour speed limit zone on a highway. 10% would be 6 more. But I've seen it go into the 70s. I've looked into that, and they say it could be impacted by the flow of traffic and other variables to decide how it handles that. But I still find it a little odd that it does that. So rather than going on the higher end, I tend to, if I'm in a hurry and I want to exceed the speed limit, I might go 10% up, which isn't literally going to be 10% from, in my experience anyway. 5 might even work. Now if you go to 40%, so technically a 60 mile per hour speed limit, that would put you at 84 miles per hour. And that's pretty darn excessive. I mean, that's like cops pull you over speeding. So why do they recommend to do that, to go so fast? I mean, it does have some ways of looking at the flow of traffic and other variables, so it's not necessarily going to go that much faster. I guess they're saying it's going to do what a human tends to do. And maybe in that way of thinking that it's therefore recommended, they're saying, hey, you're a human, maybe you like to drive a certain way, you're most likely to drive a certain speed above the speed limit, so set it to 40 and basically let it make its decisions. Anyway, I keep it at 0. 0 is the safest. 0 is the most efficient for your battery. Same with gas cars too, typically, to stay the speed limit. So for many reasons I like the speed limit, but you can do what you want, but just know it is a little quirky and maybe a little too human, as it doesn't follow its own guidelines directly exactly. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Expanded self-driving visualization. Okay, that's a newer feature. I'm not too fond of it. So what it is when you're driving, you see this? No, not this. Wait, okay, I'll get that down. All right. See how here we have almost the... No, you can't see because you're just on the phone. Okay, do this. Take down your menus, and you should see a big version of your car appear, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You may have noticed when you're driving, instead of a big version of your car, it'll show the car driving and what it sees. Other cars, pedestrians, all kinds of things it can see. Now, you can see the map is sort of a mini map on the top right.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing a video game, you get the mini map on the top right. If you tap the map, tap that, you'll see the fuller map appear and a smaller visualization of the car and how it sees things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally prefer to get more map information and less how the car sees things. I think there's plenty of it's plenty big enough to see plenty of what the car is seeing. Having more of the map shown. So that is my personal preference. If I'm ever driving and I want to see more clearly where the roads are and where they're taking me, what route that it's using, I'd rather see that on the map than more of how the car looks. The expanded visualization, what it does is it does the thing we saw initially, which is a huge version of the car in a mini map. That's what they mean by expanded visualization. Does that make sense?
Okay, so that doesn't change how the car functions. It still sees the same amount.
Yes.
It's just showing it more on the screen for me to see it.
For you to see it, and you get less map as the trade-off. Much less map.
Okay.
So I keep that off. What?
Good to know.
Yeah, okay. And actually, whenever you're driving, if at some point you think, I'd like to see more visualization, you don't have to go into the menus. You don't even have to use the voice command. The simplest way is you tap the map. Or if you have the smaller visualization and you want to make it big. Sorry, okay. Tap the map is when you're in expanded visualization and you want to see the map more, you tap the map. Alternatively, if you have the car shown smaller visualization and you want to increase the size of the visualization, to the right of the car you would see a little bar and you can just tap it and just pull to the right. It's just like using a phone. It's the same kind of UI, user interface. I mean, that would work well and easily. It's intuitive, I'll say. So yeah, you can get expanded visualization without actually having it checked. But I think the default is best to have more map. So that's me. That's what I prefer. Okay, next is AS. Do you see that next? We're still back to the menu. Under expanded full self-driving visualization, after that is AS. Did you see that?
The actual smart summon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a feature I rarely use, but it is fun when I use it. It's fun to show it off, and there are some real-life value to it. So that's the one where you can use your phone to, within a parking lot, drive your car to you.
Yeah, I tried that twice and it didn't work. It lost connection.
So most of the time when I've used it, I've been on Wi-Fi. I lean toward that, and it's not just because you should have a better connection, but I don't do it by an unlimited data plan myself, so I prefer not to. Also, if you have a data plan, depends on the quality of your data when you're doing it. When I do it, so I'm on a Wi-Fi connection most of the time. If I'm at a mall or whatever store, a lot of places have Wi-Fi. I find it works very well. I rarely lose connection. On a cell phone signal, I tend not to even bother with it. I guess if it said LTE on my phone, that would at least mean I have a good signal, but whatever. But there are some real times it might be useful. It's really wet out, like it's hard rain, and you're not prepared, and you've got a long walk to the car. You might not want to get really wet if you don't have an umbrella. Maybe a thunderstorm came along. If the rain's not too hard, I mean, if it's really hard, it's not going to do it anyway. But if it's within its parameters, it will come to you, and that's good. With me having kids, sometimes I think rather than walk the parking lots and that slight chance of someone hitting us, I could bring the car to us. I'd rather somebody hit the car than us. So there's just a couple examples. Or you get an injury and you don't want to walk to the car because of your injury. You want to bring it to you. Also, there's something to know. If you're ever in a tight parking area, like a really narrow garage or, I don't know, any really tight area where it's kind of hard to get in and out to open your door without bumping something, you could use even dumb summon, which is just the simple straight forward and back on your phone, to have it come in and out of there and then get in or out of the car when it's not in the tight area. Anyway, I have it active, so if I ever want to use it, I can use it. There's no disadvantage I can think of to having it active other than, I don't know, is there some power usage or something? The car goes into sleep mode if it's inactive long enough. So when it's in sleep mode, I don't think the AS is affected by that. So I don't see any reason not to keep it there. I just keep it on in case I need it. All right, and also there's something called standby mode under it. Keep that off. Unless you're not this way at all, and I don't think you'll ever become this way. But anyway, most people I don't think are using this smart summon too much. The AS actually smart summon, which is better than their old version. If you have the standby mode on, that'll use some power. Just so in case you ever need it, it'll be accessible quicker. So I say keep that off, but have the summon feature available. And there are things to customize it, but I'm not going to get into that. I mean, if you're a summon user and we want to talk about that, okay, but it doesn't sound like you're going to use it much. All right, speed limit warning. Okay, you're on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I do with this, so you can have it off so there's no warning at all if you exceed the speed limit. You can have it on display or chime. Display shows a little visual. Chime will make a nice little noise. I like the chime personally. It's a nice little reminder if I exceed. In my case, it's not the speed limit, and you'll see in a moment why. Actually, we'll just look down. Do you see where it says speed limit relative or absolute and then offset?
Yeah.
Okay. So my thinking is, even though I'm a mega speed limit driver, there are exceptions where I will exceed the speed limit, and my policy on that is I want to go as fast as I can without, I mean, if I, as fast as I want to go without having to think about being pulled over as much. And I think police are more likely to use round figures like 10 miles per hour above the speed limit, 15 above, not like 13 and 9 and numbers like that. I mean, I think they tend to go with like, oh, that guy's going 15 above, I'll pull him over. Not, oh, he's going 13 above, you know? So here's what I do. I put speed limit on relative, and relative means compared to the speed limit sign. If it says 60 and I've got relative and I say offset of 15, that means if I go 75, I'll hear a little noise, just like a little ding sound. And that'll tell me, oh, I'm going 15 above. So I like it at 15 above. Maybe I would do 10. I don't find 20 too useful because I think when you're above 15, your odds of a cop wanting to pull you over have already increased significantly. So I would try to keep my speed at 14 above at most, unless it's an emergency. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolute. Absolute is where you could tell it if I go 50 or above or a specific number and above, it'll do a chime. I don't find any use to that. I don't know what the point of that is. I'm sure there's some examples where someone would say, oh, here's when you'd want to use that, but I don't know what that would be. I don't know if you can think of a reason you'd want to say, anytime I'm going 60, for example, that a chime would happen.
No, not for me.
All right. All right, next is forward collision warning. So this lets you know if you're getting too close to something. I've thought of it as if you're driving and you're too close to another vehicle, but I think it probably does apply to all kinds of things. And this is saying how close do you want to be to something until it gives you a warning that you're getting close. If you have it too early, you might say, well, that's not very useful. I'm so okay, if this is applicable in a garage, let's say you're in a garage, you want to get close enough to the front of the garage, but you don't want to hit anything. But you might think, well, I want to know early in the process, or somebody might say, no, I want medium, or I want late in the process. I guess late in the process means you're really, really close, and medium means you're somewhat close, and early means you're not too close. I haven't experimented with that, so I don't know for sure. I keep mine on early, but now talking about this, I might experiment later on and just see how it handles something like being in the garage. Because I do find it's a little too early with letting me know when I'm getting into the garage. But otherwise, I think it's good in most environments, like driving. I think in driving, I want to know as early as possible, not later. So I might ultimately keep it as early. But I've had it as early for about for over 2 years now. No, not over 2 years. 2 years, because I bought the car in August of 2 years ago. All right, lane departure avoidance. Off would mean if you start to depart a lane, nothing happens. You'll just depart the lane. You can drive off into the side of the road if you feel like it, and nothing will happen. Okay, warning would mean it'll let you know you are departing your lane. Maybe a noise. I think it's a noise and a little visual on your display. Assist means it can do a little something to move you off, like starts to drive you back on a bit. It seems subtle to me. I just have found the assist very subtle. I'm a little confused by why it's so subtle. So I might figure that out someday. Or maybe I'll ask service one day. I don't know. But assist to me seems like the best, the safest. It keeps you away from leaving the lane. In full self-driving, it's pretty much irrelevant. But even if you do full self-driving most of the time and you decide to drive yourself once in a while, I think you want assist. You want the most help to stay in your lane in case, for whatever reason, you start to veer off. Okay, emergency lane departure avoidance. I am forgetting what that is. Let's see. If I disable it, it says if you disable it, your vehicle will not try to automatically apply corrective steering when it's drifted out of lane and collision might occur. Okay, so that sounds like what we were talking about earlier. So let's see if I turn it off. Lane departure avoidance. That's interesting. It's still on assist. How is that possible? All right. Lane departure avoidance will warn or assist with corrective steering when your vehicle starts to drift out of lane without a turn signal. Whether you use this safety feature or not, you must always pay attention. Okay. I don't know. I don't understand it. It seems like two different things that are the same thing. And I just don't know. That's probably a quick Google search or whatever would turn up an answer, but I'm not going to get into that specific detail. And you can look it up later, or I might, but unless you know the answer by any chance.
I do not know.
Okay. So the next one, automatic emergency braking. Disable full self-driving and auto steer to modify. Yeah, you want I mean, who doesn't want it to brake if you're about to hit something? Or someone. I mean, I think that's very important to keep it on. And it should be kept on. So that's my whole thing on that. Okay, obstacle aware acceleration. It says automatically limits acceleration and may apply the brakes if any obstacle is detected in front of your vehicle while driving at low speeds. Okay, well, I don't see any reason not to have that on. That sounds very good. I mean, there's always a possibility of phantom braking, and that could happen if it misinterprets something on the road to be like a major pothole or obstacle. If they tarred the road and made a certain pattern that looks a lot like it could be a pothole, that can happen. But if that ever happens, and you're sure there's no obstacle and it's not starting to stop because maybe there's a kid running from the side of the road that you didn't notice, if you're sure everything's safe and things are definitely safe, all you have to do is hit the accelerator a bit to prevent it from slowing down or stopping. Okay, that's how you deal with phantom braking. Okay, green traffic light chime. I know what it does, but I want to see what it says. Yeah, so I only skimmed it, but I'll just say this is only useful when you're not in full self-driving mode. In full self-driving mode, it's irrelevant because it'll just simply start driving when the traffic light's done. And by the way, you don't have to keep your eye on the road when you are at a full stop in full self-driving. The rest of the time you do, but not otherwise. Now, green traffic light chime means if you are out of you're not in full self-driving at the moment you're at a traffic light. When it turns green, you'll hear a chime. Lets you know it's time to go. So you can focus on other things while you're at a stoplight, even not in full self-driving. So I like that feature. I don't see any reason not to have it on. All right, locks. So your key, you have your key, of course, the key card, but then your phone is your key, and the best kind of key is your phone. And when someone has a spouse, even if they don't or rarely need to drive the Tesla, it's good that they can be able to drive it in case of some emergency or other reason. So it's good to, in my opinion anyway, is to have them have their phone set to be able to use it in case it's ever needed. And everyone can have their own phone with their own phone key, essentially. And it can detect who there is in the car. And it can even adjust the seat for the preference of the driver, because it knows who's going in. It can change the seat configuration for that. And other things. I think if your climate control is one way and the other person likes it the other way, it'll know and adjust. Anyway, locks is talking about the keys, and I don't know what specifically other than that. Let's see. All right, there's a child lock feature down there, which makes the certain doors not able to be unlocked. So if a person's in the back, I think it's for the back seat, they can't just open the door when they feel like it and leave. You can keep it locked. So I think that's what that is, because it says both left or right. All right, window lock. That I think is a child thing too. I think it locks That might be, I think that's what locks the rear windows, so they can't open their windows. Okay, walk away door lock. As it says, automatically locks doors and trunks when leaving with your phone or key fob. So you don't have to think about locking your door when you walk away. It'll automatically do it, and then when you get back to the car with your phone on you, it should unlock automatically. Exclude home is an option, because most people, especially if you have a garage, you don't need to lock it in your own garage. So you would check exclude home. In my case, I do lock it in my garage, because when I got it, I had so many issues of one of my kids, my son, would keep going into the car and use it for games and stuff. Driver door unlock mode. That, I thought it sounded good to me, and then I didn't like it. When enabled, the driver door and charge port will unlock when the key is detected near the driver side of the vehicle. Holding down the interior driver door button will unlock the rest of the vehicle. So that that means only the driver's door unlocks when you get there. And if you have someone else with you, like a spouse, it's usually nice for all the doors to unlock, not just your door. So it just added another step. I found that unhelpful. I guess if you're in a super dangerous environment and you want to make sure only your door unlocks so someone hiding doesn't run and get into your car from another door, unless you're in that environment, I don't see the point of that one. Okay, lock confirmation sound. Most vehicles make a sound when you lock it, especially remotely or whatever. So it'll make a chime or noise or whatever when you unlock it. And you can set a custom sound of anything at all that you'd like. Or you can pick from any of the sounds they have available. And you can do random amongst the ones they have available. And mine's been on a certain one for a long time. I'm going to change it to random. Okay. No questions or anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Good. All right, My Q Connected Garage. That's to use it. There's a way to program it, and I think you have to pay for it, or at least you used to have to. I don't know. There's something about it to let you open and shut a garage door without having to use your remote control for that. So I didn't do anything with that. It says link MyQ account on your mobile device. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that someday, but so far I have not done that. All right, lights. Okay, headlights. This has been a feature on many cars for a long time. You can just say auto instead of always on or parking or off. You just have it on auto. It turns the lights on when you get in. It does what it needs you to do, and it's better. All right, front fog. My car has a fog light. Does yours too?
No.
Okay, so in lights, after headlights, it doesn't say front fog?
No.
Okay. I know the new Model Y doesn't have that. I didn't know about the Model 3, but apparently you don't have that. Okay. I would use that just to have the fog lights on, but apparently they've found, at least the way they're configuring their headlights nowadays, that it's not really of much use. So they've been eliminating it. Okay, auto turn signals. This is off for auto cancel. Auto cancel, if you've done your turn, it'll turn the signal off. I think that's a good thing. I don't want to try to remember to turn it off after. Sometimes you see people driving their signal lights on indefinitely. It's because they don't have an auto turn signal thing on. Or there's a problem with their auto turn signal thing, like they didn't take a sharp enough turn or something. So anyway, I have it on auto cancel. Okay, adaptive headlights. Adaptive headlights generally refers to the ability for it to... Actually, I've heard of this called as matrix headlights, but so it says selectively dims individual pixels. Does that say that on yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Of the high beams to reduce glare for other traffic and adjust headlights for curves. That's a really nice feature for others. You could be driving at night and there are cars coming your way, and it's nice to have high beams on in many cases when it's dark, especially as our eyes age. It's better to have more light to see more clearly. but you don't want to shine your high beams at anyone. And it's also be nice not to have to just turn the high beams off when somebody approaches. So instead of turning the high beams off entirely, it just turns off the specific LED lights that are shining at that person, at that car. It's a really nice thing. I really like it. So now I'm not glaring people. They're not dealing with my headlights, and yet I can have high beams in all the other areas, or even for curves. This is the kind of thing I wish all cars had. I sometimes I'm really sensitive to the lights, and I get the headaches too. So it's really rough for me when people have their headlights, even with low beams that are higher up. Some people have low beams that are not that low, and it's hard on me. So this is great. Some of the newer Teslas that are coming out, they're working on a new, cheaper Model Y with a lot of features stripped away. Apparently, they might not have that specific feature. Probably will still turn the general high beams on or off, but not to this level. So I think that's something. It would have been nice if they had kept it for the new car they're coming out with. Headlights after exit. Like some other cars, it'll keep the headlights on a bit after you exit, which helps if you're in a dark garage or dark environment to have the headlights on for a bit until you're gone. So it keeps it on, I don't know, a minute or something, a couple minutes. So I definitely keep that on. Ambient lights, that is in the car. So okay, you have light strips in your car. I don't. So in my car, ambient lights means lights like down where my feet are, where the pedals are, down in the bottom, and in the sides where the pockets and the sides of the doors. There's some subtle lights down there when I have it on, and yours might have that too, but yours would also have light strips. I think you'll also have specific controls about your light strips to change the color and their brightness. So, and also if you do there's a way, maybe just activating Rainbow Road. Yeah, I think you activate Rainbow Road in Toy Box, or perhaps just a simple voice command, and your light strips will keep changing colors, cycling through the colors. That's probably my favorite if I had light strips. Okay, dome lights. That's just the lights, when you're inside and the lights above you. So most people, I think, do auto. Mine were off for some reason. Okay, maybe I'm not out at night enough to think about it enough. But anyway, I think I'll keep mine on auto and see if that works out for me. Steering wheel lights. So on your at least on, do you have that too on the Model 3?
No.
No. Okay. So on mine, there are 4 lights showing arrows that are lit up, so at night I can see the steering wheel lights. But if I turn it off, I can't see any such lights. So is your steering wheel illuminated at all? I mean, if it's dark, you need to see your buttons, right? There must be some illumination.
Well, the buttons light up, that's all.
Okay, so on mine, it's to the sides of my 2 buttons around my wheel. It shows the lights, which helps me locate those scroll wheels, and also know I can press, reminds a person, I suppose, that they can press the scroll wheels left and right. Alright, next is seats. So I have heated seats. You have heated and cooling seats, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Only in the front. The rear seats are only heated.
Yes. Are 3 seats heated in the rear?
No, just 2.
Okay. So mine has 5 heated seats and 0 cooling seats. I'd rather have your configuration than mine. The rear middle seat is rarely used, and that might be why they've been eliminating it on the new Model 3 and the new Model Y. None of those have a rear middle seat with heating. Now, auto will adjust the heating or cooling of your seats, in your case, based on the temperature you have it set to and the cabin temperature. So basically, if you want your cabin set to 74 degrees and it's 80, it's then cooling it to 74. So it's cooling at 6 degrees, and it'll then also adjust your ventilated seat based on how much you're cooling things off. I think that's how it works. So auto is a good one, or off or on or whatever. auto, whatever a person likes. I personally, with heated seats, at least in mine, I find for me level 2 or 3 are too hot. So I rarely go to level 2 or 3. I'm usually on level 1, whereas my wife likes level 3. So people have different preferences. Now to the right of the picture of the seats, there should be I think you might have an arrow going up and an arrow going down.
Yes.
Okay. When the passenger seat is not occupied, you can, and I don't know if you can do this while you're driving, I don't think so, but you can adjust the passenger seat. The use of that is, let's say you have a passenger about to come in and maybe they're not too familiar with doing the adjustments and you don't want to try to reach over and deal with that, so you can just do it from the screen, adjust their seat before they sit down. Or if for some reason, let's say there's someone behind the front passenger seat and the rear seat, and they need more space, you can just move the seat forward. Or last thing I can think of, I've had passengers, they come in and I might have the passenger front seat not really close to the front, not really far, just kind of in the middle, but if I get a tall person come in, they're going to be more comfortable, I think, with the seat back. But you know what a lot of people do, what I found in my experience, people will come in and they'll just be like, I'm good. And okay, I guess they're okay, but if I think of it ahead of time, I might think, oh, I'm going to move it back so they can feel more spacious, feel better, more comfortable. And so I can actually move that for them without, before they get in, without having to lean over. Do I use that much? No, very rarely. I really think of it, but those are times it could be of use. All right, display. Okay, so we have appearance: light, dark, auto. Light it's more bright, it's more vivid. If someone likes it, okay. I like dark, but part of that is the migraine issue I have makes dark work better for me. But I don't know, I think I kind of get a sense dark might be more popular, but maybe it isn't. Auto will adjust, I think, based on day or night to make it light or dark. Okay, reduce blue light. So you can, it'll have warmer colors if you have that on. And some say it's better for headaches, and I think there's some legitimacy behind that to have the blue light reduced. And if someone doesn't have a headache issue, they shouldn't think about that unless they have a passenger that may, then they probably want to have that on whenever the passenger's around. There's not much disadvantage, though, to having it on. I think things might look a little dimmer, a little more warm colors, the yellowy color tinted. And if someone doesn't like that, or they find it harder to read the stuff when it's like that, then that may be a reason they don't want to have the reduced blue light on. Also, blue light is said, and there's some research about this, said to keep us more awake. And you don't want to fall asleep when you're driving, so that could be an argument to keep more blue light on. You could say, oh, I'm going to put the appearance on light, I'm going to blast it super bright. And if a person has a risk of falling asleep, I could see them doing that. But if they're using full self-driving, it'll know if you're closing your eyes, and it'll wake you up. And it'll adjust based on if you're doing that. So full self-driving, it's a non-issue. If you're just driving, you don't do full self-driving. It still has things like corrective steering if you're veering out of your lane, and it'll warn you about stuff. So it might also pay attention if you keep your eyes shut. I don't think I've looked that up, and I'm definitely not going to experiment turning off full self-driving and then just closing my eyes while I'm driving and seeing what happens. That doesn't sound good. So, I don't know. I keep it on reduced blue light. Okay. Brightness. Auto. It'll look at how bright things are and adjust the screen based on the brightness. So, it actually will try to avoid blasting super bright light at you when it's dark, which could be a distraction. That might actually be a distraction. You want to see everything on the road best. Also, as our eyes age, the glare from other lights can, even maybe without cataracts, can still affect how well we see things. So I think it's good to have the screen basically as bright as you need it to still see it clear enough so you can see what you need to see on it when you need to glance over at it. So yeah, I have reduced blue light and I have auto, and auto works pretty well. At least the combination works well, and dark. So for me it works well. So I keep it like that. Okay, automatic blind spot camera. Showed side camera when turn signal is engaged. That's a newer feature. It came out within the last year. And isn't that great how you get new features on a car? You don't have to buy a new car to get new
Yeah, that's
features.
cool.
I love that. So my car did not come with a light near the side near the mirrors to show me if there's a person in the blind spot. Of course, I was trained in days where I would not take a turn to another lane unless I both checked by turning my head and looking at the mirrors. So blind spots shouldn't be an issue, but people make mistakes. So okay, maybe it is an issue. Um, I guess it is in some cases. So I don't know if yours does that. Does the new Model 3, does it have a light or something as a blind spot indicator? Like an actual little light?
Oh, I don't know. How would I know?
I don't know how you know. I mean, one way is a quick Google search probably has the answer. Anyway, some Teslas have that. I believe the new Model Y has an actual a small red LED appears near the mirror, to the right of the mirror inside the cabin, to tell you if there's someone at the blind spot. Of course, the cameras can cover the blind spot. If you push the camera icon, you'll see that area quite clearly. And if full self-driving is enabled, I don't know that you should need that anyway. So, but how does it work in my case? So, automatic blind spot camera. Yeah, if I'm going to take a left, it'll show a little camera view on the screen of the area that the left mirror is showing. But also beyond that, it covers things better than the mirror. And I don't think it has, within the typical area thought of as a blind spot, I don't think it has a blind spot. Not in that typical area. So, but nevertheless, what it does is it'll show on the screen the camera view of that area will have a red bar appear to let you know that there's someone in the blind spot. Just another warning that there's a blind spot situation. If you're in full self-driving, I believe it still shows the left camera view and will show you that warning. So it doesn't hurt to have it on. I say keep it on. Make sure it's on. Why not? Okay, screen clean mode. If you need to clean your screen and not press all kinds of random things, press that. Screen clean mode. I get the feeling that's a tongue twister. Yeah, I bet if I said it really fast, but a few times it would be hard. Anyway, yeah, you press that to clean your screen. Have I ever used it? I don't know, maybe once. Maybe twice, I don't know. Alright, scroll wheel function. You have, I think, one scroll wheel. Is that right?
No, I've got two. One for the left, one for the right.
Okay. I'm not sure if there's another version of a Tesla that has one scroll wheel, or maybe they'll have two scroll wheels. Nevertheless, mine does and yours does. And you can set it up to do whatever your favorite function is of your scroll wheel. So mine, I have it set to the glove box. So if I tap the left scroll wheel, the glove box will open, or in my case, I like to keep valuables in my glove box. So I have a pin. No one's going to get into my glove box without the pin. So if I tap my left scroll wheel, or actually not tap, hold it down. If I hold it down, it will show the pin icon. But you can have other things. There are all kinds of features. Save dash cam, acceleration mode, camera, defrost, dome light, steering wheel, heat, wiper speed. There are all kinds of things. Wiper speed is probably my other thing that I've used. It's just another way I can adjust wiper speed if I want. But I don't usually use it much, so I just set it to glove box. But the other thing is the right scroll wheel. Okay, that one isn't. You don't set it to a specific thing. The right scroll wheel has its own functions. Either tapping it does one thing, or holding it down enables grok. Have you done that?
No.
So one temptation people get is, especially with full self-driving, is to be able to look up stuff on the internet while driving. And to some degree, you can do it with full self-driving. It'll let you look to a degree, but you can't look too long unless you're hacking. There's a way to hack. This is not about hacking. So, Anyway, Grok lets you ask questions to an AI that is made by XAI, which is one of the companies Elon Musk is heavily involved with. And so you can actually converse with Grok and not have to read anything and look up information. Grok Assistant will be for looking up information. There's a fun Grok for doing trivia or other stuff. There's a therapist Grok for a greater focus on helping you with issues you're struggling with. And I'm a therapist, so I have certainly thoughts on that, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Okay, next thing is back on the screen. So touch screen language, that's self-explanatory. Voice recognition language, so is that. Voice navigation language, so is that. Keyboards, keyboard language is self-explanatory. Text size, I definitely keep it on large. I find it even a little blurry unless things are bright enough, but I can't have things too bright. So large is helpful. Just get the text a little brighter. A little larger. I don't see any disadvantage to having a larger text. It's not like it makes it huge and it causes problems. So I keep it on large. I recommend it to anyone. I'd say probably in your 40s, just about anyone should have it large. But if you're younger than that, maybe not. But there's not really a disadvantage to large, so maybe just large is just the best. All right, time, self-explanatory. Energy display. Okay, I keep mine on distance most of the time, so if you look on the top, you might see how many miles you have left on your card. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so for example, what do you see right now?
I see percentage.
Okay. One way you can change it is tap distance instead of percentage under energy display. So try that out. Were you successful?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I personally, most of the time, prefer the precise information of 200. In my case, I have 215 miles left. What's yours say right now?
210.
Wow, very similar. I just need to drive.
Sorry, 270.
Oh, no, that's not similar. What? I have to drive a lot more miles to match you now. All right, or maybe you need to charge. No, I need to charge. That's another way to do it. So anyway, 200. So yeah, that's my preference. I want to know how many miles I have. But some people might say I like percent. So okay, they keep it as percent. Both are fine. One's more precise, the other one isn't. Also, you can see the percent you have left roughly because to the right of the miles, or percent, on the top, is a battery. See a picture of a battery? It should be probably, green? Mostly filled green?
Well, mine's white, but yeah, I see it.
Oh, wow. So you have a white one. Wonder why they made yours white and mine green. I can't think of the answer to that. And that's something that I think they could just change with a simple update. But anyway, that shows you the percent your battery has left. And you know what? That's a feature that by my keeping on miles, and then I can look at the battery percent if I really want to know, I can do that. But yeah, I never really look at that. So I've often ignored that. Maybe after this conversation I'll look at it more, or maybe I'll forget again. So yeah, whatever you like. But guess what? You can toggle it more easily than going into these menus. At the top of the screen, if you tap your miles or percent, it'll toggle that way. So try that out.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the easy way to do it. One of the times I do like to know the percent, they recommend with the type of battery that mine has, and I believe yours as well, to keep the charge at 80% on a daily basis and go beyond that just when you need to go do a long trip or something, because it's better for the battery to keep it more toward the middle. Actually is ideal. Tesla used to recommend 90%, and then it wasn't really a research supported thing, or at least I don't know, maybe the research came out after, but they now recommend 80%. So sometimes I might think, okay, I'm charging it, or I do my hobby of going to free charging stations. It's a hobby because I don't need to do it. I just like to do it. And with my solar panels, I have more solar than I need. So, although if I charge exclusively at home, I wonder what would happen. But my solar, so basically my electrical cost is 3.3 cents per kilowatt hour if I send it to the grid and back to the car. or during the day. Well, even if during the day I charge it by solar, I'll have I will lose out on selling it back for something like 3.3 cents per kilowatt hour. That's not much of anything. That's so little. But hey, I enjoy the charging places for free, so I do it. It's just my thing. It's a hobby. Um, so once in a while, but I still want to pay attention and not go past the 80% most of the time. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's okay to go past it, but that's what I like to do is just not go past the 80 typically. And actually, I tend to often like to go lower. Like I might keep the battery around 50 to 60% because that's ideal. I mean, it seems like the research is more in that direction than not. The batteries last really, really well. You don't get much degradation. Many years later, you're just like, I have plenty of battery. It's good. So it's not a big deal. It's more like if someone enjoys working with the figures and maximizing things. I like that stuff, so I do it. Okay, but I could completely ignore it and be fine and charge to 90% and whatever. So that's that. Okay, temperature. Self-explanatory. Tire pressure. Probably self-explanatory. And PSI is like the way that we in the United States typically measure our tire pressure. So we keep the PSI there instead of bar. And you can look at your tire pressure the easiest way. Okay, on the bottom left, do you see a rectangle on the bottom left?
I see many.
Okay, what I mean is,
What do you?
under the car, it should say either choose media.
Yeah.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, may if you have it. It might say choose media source or it has a station already on, or it might say things like current drive since charge odometer, or it might say tire pressure. Do you see any of that?
No, mine has the phone because I'm talking to you through the car.
Oh, okay. So you might normally have the options I just said, and so you can scroll if you have that on your car. You can just swipe left or right to select one of three options. So in my case anyway, I can look at the tire pressure anytime by doing that instead of going to service menu.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. Okay.
Oh, okay. Current drive since charge and odometer. That's some information like how much your drive's been and how many watt hours you had per mile. And then on the far left, well, one of the options is your media source. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. So now schedule. Okay. Current location, it can know. So once you've set up home and work, which is a good thing to do, and I really recommend you do that if you haven't already. Then it can know your location and know things about what to do. So I have under the next thing under there is precondition. Automatically adjust your cabin temperature and warm your battery by a set time. If someone goes to work, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they leave their house, for example, at 8:15 a.m., they could set it up where it'll get the battery warmed up, which maybe is good for the battery. That could be a reason to do that, and maybe especially useful as it's colder out. I don't know if it's as useful now. It could be, though. And it can precondition the cabin. This is especially useful if someone doesn't have a garage or it's a detached garage, to get the cabin to a comfortable temperature when they get into their car. And it does that knowing when you're going to leave. So if you say, I'm departing at 8:15 on those days, it'll set things up by 8:15. So to me, the most important use is if you are definitely on that consistent schedule. If you don't care about the cabin temperature, you can set the cabin temperature to, I don't know, some modest temperature. And there, if I remember, I might be wrong here, but you might be able to tell it not to use the AC or the heater or something like that. Like maybe say no AC, and then it'll just start blowing, but it won't actually turn the AC on, which would be more of a power drain. If it's plugged in and charging at the time, it will be able to use power directly from the charger, including a standard outlet. So it doesn't have to be level 2 charger, it can be level 1. And it can use the power from that. And the idea there is, it could draw directly from solar panels if you have solar active at that point, although that early, it's hard to get much solar, I suppose. But yeah, certain times a year. B, if you're someone that wants to set the cabin temperature and use some energy doing that, you're using it directly from the outlet. Even if it's drawing from the grid, it's not drawing from the battery. The disadvantage of drawing from the battery is it then will discharge the battery a little, and then that means recharging it later on. And every discharge and recharge is a slight, very slight um, degradation to the battery. So if someone's, especially if they're driving like 5 days a week to work, they might say they think it's worth it to do this. So I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. I have preconditioned. The only thing I've gone out like very consistently. There's a couple, 1 or 2 days I've done that, but maybe in the winter, in case it's good for the battery to heat up first, I found maybe I want to charge it, so that'll give some heat to the battery and precondition right before going. And the schedule's really good. You can have it charge at any times you need, and so it's not just precondition. If you go down, scroll down, you can see charge, and that's where you can set the to charge. And that's where on mine you would see if you watch the video later. I have it Monday through Friday, 8:15 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I need to reset my weekend schedule so it'll charge on the weekend. Now the reason I have it 8:15 to 3 is 8:15. By then I'm starting to get some significant sun this time of year, but that's going to change soon. And again, I have solar panels, so I want to use those to charge it. And 3. So I'm a part of an incentive program that means I cannot charge during peak hours, which is after 3:15 or so, or 3:10 or something like that. So I just say stop at 3, so I don't run into that period. But if I didn't have that issue, I would just say charge until, I might have mentioned this earlier, like 6 or something, or 5, or whenever sun is still going. So anyway, I'll set my weekend one later because weekend doesn't have the peak hours. All right, next is safety. All right, do you know Sentry mode? Have you used that? Do you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, nothing's happened. So.
Yeah. So Sentry mode, it used to use a lot of power. It doesn't use as much anymore, so that's really good. And I think it's a good feature. And I subscribe to their data service for $100 a year, allowing me to use internet when I'm not on Wi-Fi. And also, I can use the phone when not on, what is it? I think it might be to be able to view Sentry Mode footage from the phone. I don't remember if you just need Wi-Fi or data on your phone, or if you actually have to have their data plan. I'm not sure. But their data plan at 100 a year, to me, that's just worth it. Well worth it. I love it. So I use it. Anyway, Sentry Mode's good unless if you're in an environment you're just like, it's too safe, there's no point of Sentry Mode, I don't care, the odds somebody's going to key my car so low, I don't need to have footage of that, then you might say, okay, I'll not use Sentry Mode. I believe you can set Sentry Mode to exclude home. Yeah, so I see auto enable Sentry in park. I have that set to auto enable. Sometimes I haven't. There are periods I've gone and not had it for like a year or whatever, so it's all personal preference. If you have it enabled, you're using some power. You're draining, I forget what it is, how many miles per hour it drains. It's pretty reasonable, but still, it is a drain. I have it set to exclude home, and at this point, exclude favorites. Whether I should do that or not, I don't know if it's a good idea, but that's how I happen to have it. I could have it exclude work. So if it's excluding, then when I get to work, if I had exclude work, it will not do that at work. It will not have Sentry Mode on at work. All right, camera-based detection. Well, I think that's just, it uses the cameras to detect if someone's doing things rather than having to rely just on them maybe trying to use the door handle to try to get into your car. So then you'll get a Sentry Mode event when you do that, and it'll alert you when you get into the car. You'll see an icon saying something like Sentry Mode event, and you can press it, and it'll immediately take you to the event, and you can look at what was going on. It's usually just like someone got too close, not any problem, but problem could happen. All right, disable Sentry sounds. If someone's doing enough problematic things, it'll start making sounds. I don't think even in testing a little, like coming in without my phone on me or something, I don't think I've ever gotten it to do that, but apparently it can. I don't see any reason to disable the Sentry sounds, so I keep it enabled. View camera via mobile app. That's that feature where you can view the camera when you're using your phone, and you probably want to have a Wi-Fi signal or a really good cell signal to do that well. Otherwise, you could have various issues, I think. Dash cam. Auto is what I set it to, so it I think, well, I know what it does, and I assume it's auto is the reason. So it's always recording when I'm driving, and it saves, I think, an hour of footage. It'll just loop over that when an hour has gone by. It's just always an hour. And then when I park for a while, a bit of time it's on, and if it's in Sentry mode, will have its own separate camera active. Now you could do dash cam on honk. When you honk, it'll turn the dash cam on, or manually adjust it to turn it on. Anyway, I think auto is the best. You don't have to think about it. It's just on as you need it. Oh, mosquito just tried to get me, and I killed it mid-air by grabbing it. Okay, that's not relevant. Yeah, so if you ever have an accident, you can prove what happened. Make sure you save your dash cam footage. I think you hit the dash cam icon or something when you need it saved, so you can make sure you can save that footage and have it available. All right, automatic blind spot camera. Show side camera when turn signal is engaged. Yeah, because the camera that will appear on your display covers the blind spot as well as much of, if not fully, what the mirror will show you. It just makes sense to have it on to me. I don't see a disadvantage, except having it appear on your screen if it's in a spot that you want to utilize that area. That could become annoying. I've had times it'll appear and I'm like, I don't want it there. I'm trying to do something, but so I don't strongly feel it should be on, but I think why not? It'll give you more coverage of the area. Instead of using your mirror, you could use that. But I still use my mirror. But I could see them getting rid of mirrors one day, and I would just use that. All right, blind spot collision warning chime. Besides that red bar I was telling you about that appears on the screen in your blind spot camera area, it also will have a chime if it's going to have a collision? I don't know. When enabled, you will hear a chime when a potential collision is detected while you are leaving the lane. Yeah, okay, so I think what they mean is maybe you're starting to change the lane and you didn't realize someone's in the blind spot. It'll also give you a notice, like a chime, to let you know, hey, stop doing that, or you can hit someone. So that must be why I haven't noticed it, because I don't do that, or don't do it enough. Rear cross traffic chime. I don't know for sure. I mean, I can just speculate. From the back, I guess it says rear. Okay, so cross traffic. So I guess people coming the other way on a road where it crosses. So I don't know. It's not a good explanation because I'm not sure. Okay. Allow mobile access. I think it's just allowing you to be able to use your phone with the Tesla. Okay. Valet mode. If someone else is going to drive it, you don't want them to see your data, things, past searches, or if that even records past searches. There's some stuff you like your favorites with searches if you use it on Wi-Fi or with the $100 a year Tesla data plan, and you want them to access that. Valet mode would help, and it will automatically lock your and pin, maybe pin. Yeah, it'll just make your glove box inaccessible. All right, pin to drive. That's one of those features that it's like, okay, I just like the convenience of getting to my car and driving and not having to put a pin in. But in the rare case that someone gets into your car that's not you, and maybe, I don't know, you left your phone in there, so they were able to access it and start driving, they can't drive because the pin to drive will be accessed. I mean, will prevent them from going anywhere. That makes the car pretty much impossible to steal. I mean, it's already crazy to steal because you can track where it is, and you can use the smart summon to start driving around if it's not on a public road. There are all kinds of things you can do. But anyway, there's a pin to drive. I don't use that. Glove box pin. I told you about that earlier. Parental controls. Nothing you need. But if, let's say, my daughter, who just turned 16 on August 2nd, who just got her learner's permit, If I had a concern that she would drive excessively fast once she has her license, when I'm not in the car, I can limit the speed for any kids that have their own phone keys. I wonder how that would work with a card key, or maybe I wouldn't give that to her. But then she would need it in case her phone ever went dead. Okay, so I don't know the details there. But we don't need to get into those details. Someone else with kids can look at that in detail themselves. Speed limit mode. Yeah, well, that's a part of the parental controls, but it doesn't have to be. You can just simply have a speed limit mode set for whatever reason. And then it'll allow the speed up to a certain speed. I could do this, so let's say I want to do a 0 to 60 fun acceleration thing, just, to do it. I could set the speed limit to 65 so I wouldn't have to watch my speed so much. And what it'll do is it'll go up to like 61, 62 or so at max speed, and then it'll slow down as it approaches the limit. Or if I had a tendency to go too fast and didn't want to use chimes and all that, I just wanted to just simply not let me go past 79 on a highway, I could set speed limit mode, and I'll be limiting myself to 79 without having to think about it or whatever. But in full self-driving, that shouldn't be an issue unless you're using speed offset, and then you're thinking, well, I don't want it to ever go past 79, because it is a little funny how it handles the speed offset. And then I might set the speed limit mode. Oh my gosh, another mosquito. Alright, I'm going to shut my garage door. Well, apparently I'm in the garage, and I keep getting mosquitoes. That's like the third one that's come to me. And I had the garage door open because it's cooled off. So it seemed nice. But anyway. Oh, the other garage door is open. Alright, I guess I'll shut my windows now. Cabin overheat protection. Okay. Off, no AC, or on. Let's say you're parked and you don't want your cabin to reach a certain temperature. Maybe you have chocolate in there, you don't want it to melt. Or maybe a pet. There's a dog mode for that in particular. But anyway, I suppose you could just put cabin overheat protection on. Put on instead of no AC. Just put on. And it'll use the AC to keep the cabin at a certain temperature. No AC means it'll use the vent. So if it's sunny and hot and it's 95 out, but the cabin, it can reach well over 100 in that circumstance. You could go to like 120 in that circumstance. If you just have the vent on, it'll bring that outside air in and help modulate the temperature in the cabin without using the AC. Also, if you're on your app, you have a similar function, and you can press vent on the app, and it'll open all the windows about, I don't know, like an inch or so, something like that. That's a nice feature. I use that once in a while. Or you can open your windows entirely, I suppose, but not through the app. They don't let you do that. So I keep mine on no AC. So my cabin, if it gets to be whatever temperature, it'll activate. According to this, I don't know how it I don't know. Okay. No AC mode consumes less energy, but temperatures may exceed 100. Of course. It seems like you can choose the temperature you want it to limit it to, and for up to 12 hours it can keep the vents on. I don't remember it really activating that, so I'm not sure what that's all about. Okay. Automatic 911 call. Yeah, well, I definitely have that on. If I ever have an accident to the point where the airbags are deployed, I want it to call 911 for me. That sounds good to me. I can always cancel it, but what if I'm not feeling up to calling? I mean, that's great to have it call for me. Okay, that could save a life. So I certainly keep that on. Security alarm. It's kind of, I'd say grayed out, except it's not literally gray, but whatever. It's dull. It's just on, so I don't know. I would have it on anyway, I guess. Park assist chimes. When you're parking, it has a nice display where it shows the car and it's visualizing the world. It shows the car from a bird's eye view and renders things in a 3D look. So it's really nice. And it can really help you to know how far you are from things. It doesn't give exact feet, Unlike, this is one of the few things that small advantages you could get from an older Tesla when they used radar would tell you you're 1 foot away from that object or 2 feet. So no more with that, unfortunately. But it still will show, kind of get like a yellowy color, then orange, and then red as you get closer and closer to things. And it'll show you stop, and it'll have chimes go off as you're getting too close. So that's how that works. Okay, gear chimes. When you switch gears, it'll make a tone. And that's optional. So if you have gear chimes off, it won't make the tone. Like, well, it wasn't. Trying to do a tone example, but I'm charging, so never mind. It won't change gears. Oh, well, it kind of did. It went. Put it on park. Okay. But I would have thought it was parked originally. Alright, well, I don't know. Nothing I tip. Oh, I see the problem. I don't have my phone key with me.